قل هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني وسبحان الله وما أنا من المشركين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد, dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to this new episode of Ask Zad. You will find, inshallah, the numbers to call if you have any questions, and you can also call us through Skype at Zad TV. And meanwhile, we have a number of questions pending from before. The first question is from Muhammad. He says, here in India, Muslim people celebrate the maturity of girl child by family gatherings, feasting, and other rituals like garlanding the girl and many other absurd rituals. Is this allowed? And if not, what is the punishment for such a sin? I need to convince my parents for not doing the same. First of all, Muhammad, you have to know that the people in India and in Pakistan, in the subcontinent generally, had adopted a lot of the Hindu rituals into their customs and traditions. And this is why it is essential for Muslims in Arabia, for Muslims in North Africa, for Muslims in the subcontinent, for Muslims from the Malay origin in Indonesia, in Malaysia, in Singapore, and for Muslims in Europe and America. It is essential for them to go back to their roots, which is the Quran and the Sunnah, because Islam is to submit your will to Allah Azza wa Jal, which means that you have to cross-examine everything you do in your life as a Muslim and check whether this is permissible according to your religion and not according to your culture. So if there is a clash between religion and your culture and your country and whatever people call you to do, you have to give priority to your religion, to Islam. And secondly, we have to be extremely vigilant in the sense that Shaitan, Satan, the devil, has great experience in what we think and how we think. If you ask me for my resume, it would be like a couple of pages only, maybe 3 pages. If you ask for a CEO of a company, it might be 10 pages. Satan has hundreds and thousands of pages. He knows exactly how people think. So whenever they are extreme, he adds to it until he gets them away from the straight path. And if they're too lenient, he adds to it so that they would go away from the straight path. This issue, which is celebrating a girl's reaching the age of puberty, Shaitan has a role in this. So in some extreme cases, and I've seen this, because menstruation is a natural thing that Allah has prescribed upon women. So I get a lot of questions of sisters saying that while we are on our menses, our brothers, our sons, our relatives ask us, why don't you pray? Why don't you fast? So I pretend to be fasting. And I pray with them while in menses, so that they would not ask me. This is extreme, and this is haram, and this is totally prohibited. Now, on the other side, you have this type of question. Going out of their way, exposing something that should be concealed, something that goes against the bashfulness of girls. They expose her and show the people that she had reached puberty and that now she's menstruating. They throw a feast, they throw a celebration. Everybody in the family knows about it. This is totally prohibited. And it's an innovation, and it's an imitation of the kuffar, and it is punishable by Allah, and people should fear Allah Azza wa Jal and not follow blindly the cultures and the customs of the non-Muslims. Ruwaish from India. Ruwaish. So I think we've lost her or him, I apologize. Aqib says, is it correct to believe in the numerical or other such miracles of the Quran? For example, the ayah in chapter 39, which talks about pregnancy, has 39 letters, and it takes approximately for women to give birth. What is the ruling on this type of deductions from the Quran? This is problematic, Aqib. When you say, is it correct to believe in the numerical or other such miracles of the Quran? Definitely believing in the miracles of Quran is part of our religion. Anyone who rejects this is not a Muslim. But is there numerical miracles? People usually tend to find it difficult to distinguish between what are subtleties and miracles. Any person who compiles or writes a book can insert in that book a certain number of things and then claim afterwards that this is miraculous, which is not. This is not the type of miracles that the Quran contains, first of all. Second of all, people have gone so deep in this that they started making up things according to their whims and desires. So they started to say, for example, that the word day in the Quran is 365 times, which is the days of the year. And they say that the month in the Quran is only mentioned 12 times, which is 12 times in it. And all of this is bogus, is not true, because they selected the words that refers to day and neglected other days. And they did not include it because it did not fit the 365 days of theirs. Likewise, in the case of seeking refuge from the shaitan. Likewise, in the mentioning of the heaven and hell, the angels and the devils, all of these are bogus and not true. The miracles found in the Quran is what Allah challenged people to try and manufacture something like it, which nobody could. Allah challenged them to produce 10 chapters. They failed. Allah challenged them to produce 1 chapter, and they failed. No one could do that for the past 15 centuries, and no one will ever be able to do that. But to include certain numbers, and not only that, to build on it allegation that, okay, the number 19 has great significance in Islam because it's found in Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and the multiplication of it, you find it here, you find it there. All of this is nonsense and not true, which led some ignorance to say that it's mentioned in the Quran through numerical miracles, they say, when the state of Israel would be demolished. And they said that we can tell when the day of judgment is by doing some calculations. And recently, they said that 9/11 is mentioned in the Quran as well. All of this is fabrication and not true, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. We have Marianne from the UK.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salamtullah.
If one day someone happens to keep breaking the wudu and now the salah time is running out, what do they do? Do they just keep repeating it and go over the salah time, or do they just pray on the last wudu that they did?
How do they break their wudu?
For example, they passed wind or something like that.
And this is continuous throughout the day or only for us?
No, it just happens sometimes.
Okay. Any more questions?
But they can't predict when it will stop and happen.
Okay. Any more questions?
Also, if someone suffers from severe waswasa, where they do spend hours doing istinja, wudu and praying, and they keep missing their salah times, what should be done?
Okay. Any more questions?
Also, how do you do wudu with a little water? Because I watched people demonstrate, but people said they were just wiping, like they would splash water over the foot, but they wouldn't wash it properly. Like, I'm confused how you do it with a little water.
So this question is how to perform wudu with little water.
Yeah.
Okay. Inshallah, I will answer you. Amna from Pakistan.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salamtullah.
I have two questions.
Yes.
First one is, should we offer one witr, or is it compulsory to offer 3 rakat of witr?
How can it be, Amna, how can it be 2 rak'ah and witr? Because witr is an odd number.
3. I said 3.
Okay, 3.
Yeah.
Second question.
And second question, I have this friend, she asked me to ask you this question. She said that she held the Quran in her hands and lied on it. Like, she took a false oath to protect her honor, but ever since she has felt remorseful and she does not know what to do. She does not know what to do.
Okay, what was the thing that she swore against?
She didn't tell me. She said it was to protect her honor. Like,
okay, any more questions?
No, thank you. Jazakallah.
Barakallahu feekum. So Marianne from the UK says that if a person had a sudden attack of urine incontinence or passing wind continuously, and every time he performs wudu, starts to pray, it comes out. So he goes and performs wudu again and repeats the prayer, etc. He tries his level best. But then the time is about to expire. If this is the case, as you have described, Marianne, in this case, yes, you can perform wudu and pray even if you pass wind, because this is beyond your ability and you have to pray on time. Sarah from Bahrain.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
Sheikh, I wanted to ask you, I used to fast on Arafah, but after I got married, my husband, he insists it was not valid because he quotes some hadiths from, the Prophet of Allah said, not to observe fast in Dhul Hajjah.
Wallahi, Sarah, I'm unable to understand except Arafah. I think you mentioned in the beginning Arafah. So if you can speak slowly and clearly, please, because your line is not very clear.
Okay, my question is, I used to observe the fasting of Arafah, but after I got married, my husband insists that it is not valid to fast because he quotes some hadith which refers Aisha radiallahu ta'ala said the Prophet of Allah did not observe fast in Dhul Hajjah at all. And some other hadith where Rasulullah said the day of Arafah and the day of sacrifice, the day of Ayyam al-Tashriq, these are the days of festival. So I don't know, I try to find the answers to it, but I don't know. Don't have much knowledge on this. Can you please elaborate on this, whether it is,
okay.
I don't know how to answer him.
Any more questions?
No, thank you very much.
Barakallah feekum. I will answer, inshallah. We have Brother Abdullah from Canada. Abdullah? وعليك السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Sheikh, how are you?
I'm doing well, ولله الحمد والفضل والمنة. How can I help you?
Sheikh, I have two questions.
Yes.
Yesterday I was another Muslim. They told me that when will the Ummah wake up? They said, when will the Ummah wake up to the injustice?
Abdullah, these questions, akhi, do not benefit the Muslims. So we can make a khutbah and we can go into political issues, but this is not beneficial for our program nor for the Muslims. So when are the Ummah going to wake up? This is not a question for a Q&A session. If you have questions that are related to fiqh, to aqidah, yes, go ahead, please.
So what's the ruling on a couple who is not yet, who hasn't done nikah yet, and they're not married, but they sleep next to each other, but while they sleep next to each other, there is no physical touching?
Okay, any more questions?
No, thank you.
Barakallah feek. Hayyakallah. So, Marianne's question from the UK is that what or how can a person who finds a lot of wiswas and spends a lot of time relieving himself after answering the call of nature, doing istinja, washing himself, until it is so close for the prayer time to be over? Marianne, such a person is sinful. And if he's compelled and he's forced to do this due to his severe OCD, I do urge him to take counseling sessions or to visit a psychiatrist, because this person has issues in his thinking process. Usually when we talk to the people of such nature, we find that they had built their problem over something that is imaginary. So they said, yeah, if we do this, this might happen. But if they were to learn the fiqh, and so many people that I do counseling to, I advise them to watch the series, which Allah blessed me to do with Peace TV, on Umdat Al-Ahkam. And it's available on my YouTube channel, and it's free for everyone. You can just download it and listen to it, watch it. There's also MP3 you can download if you want to listen to it while driving. If you learn the issues of tahara, what is najis and what is not, what is certain, what is doubtful, when to repeat your istinja and when not to, you will find that you have no problem with your OCD anymore. It's not rocket science. It is Islamic science. That the problem is the vast majority, 100% of the OCD people don't have knowledge. And this is why shaitan messes up with their minds. Oh, what we need is to talk with them for 5, 10, 15 minutes at most and clarify their thinking process, fix it, alter it, and make it correct on the straight path, and then they're good to go, inshallah. Thirdly, she says, how is it possible to perform wudu with little water? You can perform wudu with a mug like this. Let me drink from it first. So, the Prophet ﷺ used to perform wudu with a mud. A mud is approximately 3/4 of a liter. It's what gathers in your 2 hands of rice, for example, to fill it up, put it in a container. It would be like this big. And he used to perform wudu with it. So we have the notion of turning on the faucets and just keep on washing our arms as if we're showering, and we end up using 5 or 6 liters. And this is wrong. If you were to put the water very tiny, almost dripping, you can easily wash your arm without using this much of water. You can wash your face, but we used to filling our both hands and splashing our faces and doing it 3 times, and this consumes a lot of water. So the little water you put in your palm of the hand and you do this, this is washing because the water is running. It's different than wiping. When I don't have any water in my hand, it's just wet, and I do this. This is wiping. But when I have some water and I put it and I do this, this is washing. I can see the drops being utilized and covering the area, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. Amina from Pakistan says, do we have to pray 1 rak'ah of witr or 3 rak'ahs? Well, this is up to you. The Prophet ﷺ performed both. He offered witr with 1 rak'ah. He offered witr with 3 rak'ahs, either praying 2 rak'ahs separately, offering salam, then praying the 3rd rak'ah and offering salam, or praying all 3 together, not sitting in the middle rak'ah like Maghrib, rather standing up immediately, offering the 3rd rak'ah, sitting for tashahhud and a salutation, and offering salam. He also prayed 5 rak'ahs continuously, only sitting in the 5th. He prayed 7 rak'ahs continuously, only sitting on the 7th. He prayed 9 rak'ahs continuously, sitting on the 8th, and then standing up, then sitting on the 9th, concluding his prayer there. So it's up to you. The minimum is 1. The sunnah is 3, because this is what the Prophet used to pray and offer regularly, which is 3 rak'ahs as witr. But you can also pray 1 rak'ah witr, and that would suffice. We have a short break. Stay tuned, and inshallah, we'll be right back.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I'm going to talk about the book Interactions of the Greatest Leader. Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu said that a man came to the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and said, O Messenger of Allah, poverty has struck me. The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam sent a messenger to one of his wives to bring something for that man to eat. But she said, by the one who sent you with the truth, I only have water. He sallallahu alayhi wasallam sent to another one of his wives to bring something for the man to eat. But she said the same, until all of them said the same thing. Then Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, who will take this one as a guest in exchange for Allah's mercy? A man from the Ansar said, I will, O Messenger of Allah. So he took the man to his home and said to his wife, treat the guest of the Messenger of Allah well. She said, by Allah, we have nothing except the meal for my children. He said, get the food ready and light the lamp and put your children to sleep. If they ask for dinner, then when the guest enters, dim the lamp and make it seem as if we are eating. And when he reaches for the food to eat, then stand up to the lantern and turn it off. She got the food ready, turned the lamp on, and put the children to sleep. She then went to the lamp as if she was fixing it and turned it off. Then they pretended as they were eating, and they both went to sleep hungry. In the morning, the man from the Ansar went to Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, who said, Allah has laughed, implying his acceptance to the deed from your actions last night. Then Allah revealed his saying, which means, and they give them preference over themselves, even though they were in need of that. Reported by Al-Bukhari and Muslim.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome back. I think we have Ikrimah on the line from the UK. Ikrimah?
Yeah.
Yes, Akhi, what can I do for you?
There's a small musalla in my apartment, which
Okay.
people sometimes go there to pray. So, is it wajib upon me to go down to pray? And if yes, do I need to pray Tahiyatul Masjid?
Okay. Any more
And
questions?
I have one last question.
Yes, sir.
My parents divorced recently, and next month will be Yom al-Hadana. I know that living with my mother will be better for me due to like past experiences with both my parents. However, my mother's planning to go back to the UK, to our home country. So will it be haram for me to travel back to the UK if I
Where
choose
are
to
you
go
now?
there? Right now, I'm in Malaysia.
So your country is either Malaysia or the UK.
Yeah.
Okay, I will answer you, inshallah. Amina from Pakistan says her friend asked her this question and she made a false oath while holding the Quran. And she says, what should she do? Well, first of all, there is no great emphasis when you make a normal oath by Allah's name or when you hold the Mus'haf. Some of the scholars even went further and said that making an oath on the Mus'haf is an innovation, it's a bid'ah. Some scholars said that this is to give an emphasis, like when you give an oath after Asr, or when you give an oath next to the mimbar of the Prophet ﷺ, or next to Maqam Ibrahim in Mecca. But this is beside the point. This was not done by the Prophet ﷺ or his companions. So the act itself is not from the Sunnah, and it is closer to be a clear innovation. Yet this does not impact the oath. So whether you say verbally, Wallahi, I didn't do this, and you're lying, or you put your hand on the Mus'haf and say, Wallahi, I didn't do this, and you're still lying, it's the same thing. Secondly, there is no expiation for oaths that are done for things that were in the past. The expiation is only for the things in the future, whether that you would do it or not do it. So if I say, Wallahi, I will not enter your home indefinitely, or I won't have lunch with you tomorrow, and then I break my oath, I have to expiate. If I say, Wallahi, I will bring you the money tomorrow, and I don't, I have to expiate. But something in the past, Wallahi, I didn't take the pen. Whether I was lying or telling the truth, regardless, there is no expiation. Even if I was lying, there is no expiation because it was something in the past. Whether I'm sinful or not, this depends on a number of factors. Now, if someone was put under the spotlight and he was forced to swear and take an oath over something that would jeopardize his safety. So someone is hiding in my room and an assailant, a perpetrator, is asking, is there anybody in the room? If I say yes, he's going to kill him. If I say no, he says swear. I said, okay, Wallahi. He said, no, swear on the Mus'haf. He brings the Quran. He said, bring me 6 copies. Wallahi, 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 he's not in the room. There's no problem in that because this is something that I was forced to do. And likewise, if it dealt with my honor, if it dealt with a woman under pressure from her husband who is insisting as an ignorant imbecile that she swears and takes an oath on the Quran that she didn't have any relationship before marriage. It's none of your business what I did before marriage, akhi. He says, no, you have to swear by Allah or I'll divorce you. If she says the truth, she's going to be divorced and her reputation would be tarnished forever. No, take an oath. And this is forced oath under compulsion. You were forced to do this, and inshallah, this is not sinful. Allah knows best. Sarah from, I forgot, from Bangladesh maybe, from B. I don't know what B is. Anyhow, Sarah says, when I got married, my husband told me not to fast Arafah. And he reported the hadith where Aisha, may Allah be pleased with him, said that the Prophet ﷺ never fasted the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. And this is an issue of dispute. First of all, fasting the day of Arafah, I don't know anyone with knowledge would say that it is not recommended, let alone not permissible. The hadiths are in the Sahih. Nobody can argue with this. The Prophet said, alayhi sallam, fasting the day of Arafah, I hope that Allah would forgive and erase the sins of 2 years. And fasting the day of Ashura, the 10th of Muharram, would expiate the sins of 1 year. And this is authentic. There's no doubt in that. Now, the issue of the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, the first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, this is an issue of the dispute, but the vast majority of scholars say that the authentic hadiths stated that it is a sunnah, and some wives of the Prophet ﷺ reported that he used to fast them. But even if he did not fast them, he himself said, there are no days on earth where good deeds are more loved to Allah than these 10 days of the Hijjah. This includes fasting, charity, prayers, whatever you want, the whole 9 yards. So definitely what your husband is saying is bogus and not true. Shamim from the UK. Shamim?
Yes, Assalamu alaikum.
Salam rahmatullah. Is the name correct, Shamim?
Yeah, Shamim.
Yes, what can I do for you?
Okay, my daughter, she's 14 and she's been suffering from waswas for many years, but now she's been reading more stuff on fiqh rulings of purity and prayer, and she's gone worse over time. So I'm spending 2 hours on each salah with her, and when I'm trying to help her, she's telling me to stop, and I'm finding it difficult because she's like, of every salah, she's missing out salahs in between because of the amount of time she's spending on one salah. So in other words, when the namaz time starts, she's spending 2 hours just reading 4 rakats. So I just want to know the best way to go forward, please.
Well, okay, I'll answer you, Shamim.
Okay.
Zainuddin from the UK.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Wa alaykum as-salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hayyak Allah, akhi.
How are you, Sheikh Assim?
I'm doing great, ya Rabbi lak alhamd. How about you, my friend?
I'm good.
Alhamdulillah.
But I have a few questions. I wanted to make up for the last, day missed because I couldn't call you, so I wanted to make up for those days. I have eight questions.
Make them 4 because the time is very limited and I have a number of questions. So you have 4 questions only.
Okay. Now, my first question is regarding, I have a counselor at my school. She's Christian. And I wanted to give da'wah to her about Islam. And I wanted to talk to her about the deen. But I'm always hesitant on whether to do it or not. So what's your advice? And if I want to give da'wah, what should I do?
Okay. Second question.
Sheikh Assim Al-Hakeem, my second question is regarding, it's regarding, it's about, sometimes I've heard of this group. I've heard of something called Ahlul Kalam. What is it? And can a Muslim learn from Ahlul Kalam?
Okay.
Third is I wanted to ask about, regarding the concept of being a good child as I'm a teenager, because if someone tells you to do something that is sunnah and one of your closest people, for example a relative or one of your parents, tells you don't do it, for example fasting Mondays and Thursdays. What do you think you should do? Also, if they ask, I've been asked about, whether, to continue to study, and studying, and they keep on saying I'm gonna be low in my class. Though I do study to the best of my ability, but I'm spending my time listening to lectures, watching PCB, and learning from the hadith, and learning the Arabic from the hadith in Arabic and English, because the Prophet said, "Faridu ala kulli Muslim."
Okay.
So what do you do? And my last and final question. This is regarding the. Can you explain to me this belief system of the belief of how so many people about predestiny, the qadr.
Okay.
You know how, I know what it is, but just for clarification, because so many people that for example, if you commit a sin, for example, you drink, you go to a pub or billah, and you go and do what they do there, then when they come to you, and they say, Allah willed this, Allah did this and that, and they blame Allah Azza wa Jal for their sin, just like that shaitan, he did out of his logic.
Okay.
So what is the concept of predestination, and also what is the danger of how shaitan uses logic? Okay,
Zainuddin. I think we've reached our limits. I'll try my level best to answer you. I don't know if you had given me time or not. We have Ahmed from Iraq.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
How are you, Sheikh?
Hayyak Allah, akhi.
Sheikh, can I make one wudu for Nabi and Salah?
Can you make one
wudu?
Yeah.
For Madi and Salah.
Okay. Any more questions?
Thank you so much, sir.
Hayyak Allah. So we have, I don't know how much time we have left, but we have a number of questions. So Abdullah from Canada asked a question, and he said that a couple who are not engaged or not married, and they sleep together on the same bed without any physical contact, is this permissible? The answer is definitely not. You would not allow anyone to do this with your sister, Abdullah. So any random person or any colleague at school or at work who spends the night in her bedroom, sleeping with her on the same bed, and you keep your fingers crescent instead of crossed, because this is not halal, and you say that inshallah nothing would happen, this is totally un-Islamic, and it's not related to Islam. For a woman to have a relationship with an un-mahram, to communicate, let alone to be in seclusion in one room, let alone to sleep in one bed, this is totally out of the question. Ikrimah from the UK says, there is a musalla. A musalla is a prayer hall, a prayer room, which is not a masjid. It's a place that is temporarily used as a masjid. So he says, we have one in our building. So would I be obliged to pray? The answer would be either this or go to the masjid and pray. But if there are no masjids in the vicinity and the jama'ah, the congregation is done in that prayer room, the answer is yes. It is mandatory upon you to join them. Now the second question would be, should I pray 2 rak'ah of tahiyyatul masjid, the greeting of the masjid, before sitting down? The answer is no, you don't have to do that, because these 2 rak'ahs are only to be offered in a masjid. This prayer hall can be easily shifted into a wedding hall, or maybe sold as a canteen or a shop. So it's not a full-fledged masjid forever. It's not an endowment as a masjid. So it does not require to pray 2 rak'ahs. His second question is regarding custody. And from his voice, it's obvious that you've reached the age of puberty, and it is up to you to choose between your mom and your dad. And it's up to you to evaluate. If you know that going back with your mom to the UK would be an irresponsible move that would have negative impact on your religious commitment. Definitely, the UK is not a Muslim country, while Malaysia is. So many masjids, so many halal places, and above all, you can practice Islam without anyone objecting, because the upper hand is for Muslims and for Islam. It's a Muslim country. Nothing beats being in Malaysia and living with the Muslims. So I would highly recommend and advise that you look where your religious commitment is more honored. Because if you say that if I stay in Malaysia, my father is not a practicing Muslim, he goes to shrines, he drinks, he brings girlfriends, and it's a toxic environment. I said, no. This is something that you have to weigh the pros and cons. And definitely staying in a Muslim country is your priority. Shamim from the UK, she says that her daughter is 14 years of age and she takes 2 hours to pray. This is not at all normal. And your daughter requires counseling. As I said, this counseling can be with a Muslim counselor, and it can be with a psychiatrist who has to be a Muslim. Shaitan looks and weighs whether you are extreme, enthusiastic, keen on getting closer to Allah, or you're lenient and loose and negligent. And he banks on how you feel. So if he saw that your daughter was lenient, negligent, and very loose, he would have had her leave Salat for couple or 3 fard. Maybe delay all 5 Salats at the end of the day. Maybe skip a day or 2. Negligent with her hijab, negligent with halal and haram food, etc. But when he sees that she's keen, enthusiastic, and afraid of hellfire, and she's afraid of Allah, he puts pressure on her, adds to her OCD, so that she extends her prayer, her cleanliness into 2 hours, 3 hours, until it's unbearable. She cannot tolerate this. This is when she snaps and says, the hell with it, I'm not praying anymore. So this is how Shaitan works. You have to know how he strategizes things. And he knows whether you are enthusiastic or not. And he banks on that. And people open the door for him to mess with their mind, to mess up with their minds. It's their fault. So she needs definitely counseling, or to see a Muslim psychiatrist who would talk to her, because there's no injection, there are no pills to be taken, no antidepressants, or this would make her crazy, or would make her not very positive thing for her. But she needs counseling. She needs to open up, to speak to someone who knows the religion, and he can tell her, okay, this is where Shaitan is managing to make a fool out of you. Is this the Quran? Is this the Sunnah? Is this the way of the Prophet doing it? Salat should be a relief, not a burden. You're making it a burden. And soon enough, you will snap. May Allah protect her. So you have to find a way. Zain had 4 questions. 1, there's a chancellor in his school, and she is Christian, and he's hesitant in giving her da'wah. Don't give her da'wah. You're a boy, you're a male, and you should keep your distance away from the opposite gender, first of all. Second of all, the best form of da'wah is practicing Islam. When you sit with her in a room, and when you talk with her freely, and when you look at her, and you say that I'm giving da'wah, and she says, but all what you're doing is against your Quran and Sunnah, so what kind of da'wah are you doing? What kind of walking the talk, or doing what you claim that that is your conviction? This is going against your beliefs. So I would not advise you to do this. The Muslim sisters would do that probably. He says, Ahlul Kalam. Ahlul Kalam, those are the people of innovation, such as Mu'tazila, such as Asha'ira, such as Maturidiyya, those who do not follow the Aqidah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So can we learn from them? The answer is no. You should avoid learning from them. They're closer to philosophers. They bring things that are illogical and try to give logic to it. Keep away from it. How to be a good child in Islam when the parents tell us not to do things that are part of the Sunnah, when they want us to study while we want to study Sharia, Arabic and Quran. You have to balance. And you have to be dutiful, respectful, and diplomatic when dealing with the elders, especially your parents. So you have to weigh the pros and cons, be diplomatic, say yes, inshallah, but not necessarily follow what they say. As long as you're doing your best in school and you're devoting time to Quran, to Arabic, to Islamic studies, inshallah, you'll be fine. Predestiny, this needs another question maybe next time. And Ahmed from Iraq's last question, he says, can we do one wudu for madhi and prayer? Akhi, madhi is prosthetic discharge. And this breaks your wudu. So if you clean yourself and you perform wudu, this single wudu can do anything that is required for it. So with this single wudu, whether you intended the acts that follow or not, you can, with this single wudu, perform salat. You can sit in the masjid. You can perform tawaf. You can hold the mushaf and read from it, etc. So there isn't a concept of performing wudu for madhi discharge, then performing wudu for urinating, then performing wudu for intending to pray. After finishing all of these things, you perform one wudu, and this suffices for all. This is all the time we have for tonight's episode. Until we meet next time, I leave you fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
قل هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني وسبحان الله وما أنا من المشركين.